Right then, fancy the next Just Flying episode where we're not going to where I thought we were going to. Yeah, the plan was to continue our trip from Hira to Amaru up to Timaru, but roughly here I found a new airstrip. Just a sec. Okay, wind. Not enough to worry about either way, really, so yeah, might as well just go for it. And we'll get into the air and I'll tell you then all about the new one, where we are going. Okay. Yeah, this was just a thing I spotted on the map, and a marking which indicated a runway. So I had a look on Google with Street View and satellite images, and yeah, it seems like it may well be a small private airstrip. Not much there, it's not massively interesting or anything like that, but it is real, it does seem to exist. So now we've got it in X-Plane as well. So rather than this leg of the journey being to Timaru as previously planned, we'll have a detour. We're going to land at Timaru in the next episode instead, but for this video you can have a look at this new one, which after a moment of creative inspiration I've decided to call Middle Yards Road, as it's right next to Middle Yards Road. Then after a land and you do get to see it, you can think to yourself, yeah, probably not going to bother getting that one, Daz. It's a bit boring, really. And yeah, it is. Yeah, some of them are just like that, aren't they? As for scenery making, though, apart from throwing this one together, which wasn't exactly hard due to the lack of stuff that's there to put into an X-Plane scenery, I'm also playing around with an upgrade to a different airport, a better one, fortunately. I won't bore you with the details, but Jesus, God, that was annoying. Yeah, something wasn't working, totally my own fault, and it took me about 2 hours trying to work out what the hell was going wrong, where it probably should have taken me about 2 minutes, or 2 seconds really. Yeah, so that was not my favourite ever evening, spending way too long trying to diagnose my own stupidity. Although in other aeroplane news, I have started my scientific research into rating the landings at Birmingham, just to see if Turkish Airlines are actually the worst that go there regularly. Now, some airlines use Birmingham a lot, so there are more flights to average out, kind of eradicate the anomalous extra good or extra bad ones. Just checking if we got enough fuel. Yeah, we should be fine with the tip tanks. So yeah, I'll carry on with this for a while yet to get multiple flights with more airlines, but on the first day of keeping score of how the landings went, instead of a worse landing, we actually had a worse takeoff. Yeah, it's quite a windy day, few gusts, and a Ryanair 737, just as it was rotating, seemed to get a pretty decent push to the right from the wind, and it had a tail strike. Don't think it was anything major, it only seemed to be a gentle scrape, but it was noticeable with a puff of smoke. Not entirely sure anybody on board noticed though, as the plane then climbed to 37,000 feet and happily flew to Cyprus. So there's clearly no pressurisation issues or anything. Yeah, that guy I mentioned before who live streams at Birmingham, he has put a short separate video up showing that happen. So I'll drop a link in the description if you wanted to have a look. Quite interesting really, as tail strikes are they're not really a common occurrence, are they? So it was quite cool to get to see one. Yeah, although here's something vaguely interesting to mention, and I'm intrigued to see if you think I may have a point. Now this comes from a meme kind of thing, meant as a feel-good type of post, and it's a picture of a pilot. Don't know, he's got Asian kind of features, so perhaps Malaysian, and he's married to a medium-sized wife who makes 7 out of 10 bacon sandwiches, but don't know, but that's irrelevant anyway. The text to go with the picture said that he had just left his job as a captain for a big airline and took a pay cut to fly for his final year before retirement at a small regional carrier, the reason being that his 2 daughters are now pilots at that company and he wanted to have a few flights with them in his final year. All lovely, isn't it? Dad and daughters in the same cockpits, and I'm sure they'll all really enjoy that. However, now take a situation with an engine failure, and there have been some cases of pilots getting confused with instrument readouts during a sudden emergency and shutting down the wrong engine. Look up Kegworth airplane disaster for a great example of this. So a hypothetical where an engine has just let go in a catastrophic way. Imagine a captain whose initial thoughts are it's the left engine, and a first officer who is convinced that it's the right engine. CRM, cockpit resource management, yeah, there's loads of stuff these days that goes into training to eliminate or at least reduce the power dynamic, so that a first officer can and should be able to speak up, and the 2 of them then have a conversation about what is happening. The captain might have responsibility for the final call of which engine to shut down, but both pilots should be having an equal input into that decision. Now, if the first officer is actually correct, and the captain then changes his mind after the discussion, that may well save both of their lives and the lives of the 6 people on board. Yeah, that only 6 humans, as the rest of the aircraft was full of ducks. Yeah, don't ask, it's just it's a guy called Ismail, otherwise known as the Duck King of Jakarta, who sometimes sends his ducks out for a day out to have a trip on a plane. You know, nothing out of the ordinary. I'm sure you've seen similar things many times. Now let's redo this hypothetical, but with father and daughter flying the plane. Now, thinking back to my own life, my own dad, there were a lot of years starting as a little boy where he nurtured me, brought me up, guided me, but all of that was done with an unspoken acknowledgement that he was the boss in this relationship. He'd let me talk, have an opinion, our relationship was great from that point of view, but if he ever said, for instance, Darren, stop making that noise, I'm trying to watch a thing on television, I would shut up and stop making the noise. Yeah, not cockpit resource management, let's call it family resource management. And we knew our place in that power dynamic. So would the same apply to father and daughter flying together? And does that power imbalance, which has been nurtured and reinforced over many, many years, compared to a captain she's not related to, does that make the daughter more inclined to shut up and think, Dad is my hero, I trust what Dad says, and they do then shut down the wrong engine and kill all of the ducks? And some people as well. I think we should be just about okay staying on the tip tanks. Yeah, so the Swiss cheese safety bottle, really, isn't it? Is that another hole that could be removed by simply changing the rules to not allow family members to fly together? I mean, it's not just parents and children, even brothers and sisters will have grown up and slowly developed their own personal power dynamic between themselves. Okay, chances of something catastrophic happening are very small. The crew may perform admirably anyway, but in an industry where safety is supposed to be the primary factor, the rostering is a very simple change to make to keep family members apart. So, yeah, am I overthinking this one, or do I have a point, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, not sure if this made it to world news, but it's certainly been on the news here as a British billionaire was involved, and basically a big luxury super yacht capsized close to the island of Sicily in the Mediterranean. Early days, but it's looking like there could be quite a tale to come from this of people making dumb decisions. But the end result for now is that a number of people are dead. So we've had the Titanic submarine implosion last year, this yacht capsizing this year. Have we now started a tradition of an annual sacrifice of a billionaire to Poseidon? Now I suppose it could be Neptune if you had a particular leaning to Roman gods. If Mayan deities were your thing, then Kukulkan, I think he'd be the one. Yeah, there's a lot to choose from, but I'm sticking with Poseidon. The Greek gods, they just seem like the most fun of the various god options out there. I always imagined if Zeus took human form and you went out for a beer with him, you'd have a good night. You'd be going home very drunk, but you would have had a good night. And actually, on the way home, I can just see Zeus insisting that we all stop off for a kebab, and he wouldn't let you pay. Yeah, he'd foot the bill for all of the food himself. Just seems like that kind of guy. So, yeah, none of the gods, either current or historical, have passed the burden of proof to make any rational person think that they do exist. But if all of them did, and you had to make a choice, I'm going for the Greek lot and moving to Mount Olympus. Just thinking, those ready meal things that you can get from the supermarket, you just shove them in the oven. Might have a look and see if they have a Greek moussaka next time I'm there. Not had one of those for years, but getting sidetracked. So yeah, if we're doing an annual billionaire sacrifice now, can I vote for Donald Trump being the next one, please? Yeah, the Make America Great Again crowd's very own orange god, as we're talking deities. Although I suppose it's wrong to call him a god, because there is actual evidence that Donald Trump does exist. So that's quite radically different to all of the other historical or present day gods, isn't it? So, yeah, maybe not. Anyway, nearly here, and I did warn you not very much to look at, and in fact I'm going to say that you may not even notice that there is a runway here until a few seconds before I land on it. Yeah, I'm only going to manage to do that myself by the simple fact that I made the airport, so I know what it looks like. Yes, it is what it is, I suppose. In real life there is just one mostly open-sided shed with stuff in there that doesn't seem to be anything to do with aviation. So there's a mostly open-sided shed in the scenery filled with assorted rubbish, much like the real one. Yeah, let's go for it, see what we do then. Bit of a bounce, wasn't it? But yeah, okay in the end. It wasn't too bad. Yeah, sure we did have a little bounce first and then a landing on the second attempt. Yeah, it's alright with him. I've had worse. Yeah, we'll go and park up here by the mostly open-sided shed with stuff in it that's not really anything to do with aviation. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so there it is. XNZ MY Middle Yards Road. Get it or don't. I probably wouldn't if I wasn't me. From my mega folder, and yeah, we'll go somewhere more interesting next time. Okay then, see you soon.